Hey everybody,
What's
welcome
up?
back to another episode of
We got ish to say an everyday vibe
podcast. I'm your host Amanda,
and I'm your host Kay.
and obviously, guys, we have a guest.
And I am Vernon Williams.
Yes.
Hi, Vernon.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Okay.
Thank you for being on. Obviously, we have a special guest, Vernon. Introduce yourself to the people. Let them know what you do and kind of how we got introduced to you, like why we're excited to have you on the show today.
Yeah, so my name is Vernon E Williams. I am a creator, and so the main reason I'm on today is to talk a little bit about a story that I created called The Mayor Jones. It is a short film right now, and that is on the festival circuit and has been selected to a couple of festivals, and looking forward to continue that momentum. How I got, I guess, connected with We Got Shit to Say and Everyday Vibe. A friend of mine, Terrence, just hit me up and he was like, "Hey, I got two dope, black, strong black, independent women that got a podcast, and they're always looking for people that are doing something positive or trying to make a difference in their own little way." And he was like, "So, let me know if you're interested in hopping on." And he got us connected, and we figured out the rest from there.
Yeah, shout
so
out.
So thanks, Terrence.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. Amanda, are you friends with Terrence?
I am. Me and Terrence have been friends for, I don't know. I've lost count now. Like maybe 6 years, 7 years. I don't know, maybe more. But yeah, Terrence and I got connected through my best friend because she has a brand and whatnot. And so Super T, we call him Super T because everybody's like Super A or Super whatever to him. So
right.
Super T. Me and him got connected because obviously we both kind of worked at the same job, just different parts of the company. He lives in Hollywood. He's modeled for me. I've done his photo shoots at times. So yeah, we're super cool.
Yeah, nice. He's a cool guy. I'll probably, it feels like I've known him and seen him a lot. He's one of those people where once you meet him, like it's for the rest of your life, you'll remember
Literally.
Even if you had one conversation. But we probably seen each other 5 or 6 times, maybe, just, back and forth. And I found out he was from Ohio, too.
Yep.
But usually, I met him through my friend Ebony, who she's doing a lot of really, really big things. And I actually had a pilot to her new series that premiered last year. But I met Terrence probably 3-4 years ago, maybe. And so, yeah, he's cool people.
I love it. Super T, you're awesome. If you watch this, you're amazing. We appreciate you.
Literally. That is amazing.
So, exactly. Go ahead, Kay.
Oh, I was just going to say, We Got Ish to Say, always bringing people together, back together, so who knows?
Yeah.
Listeners, if y'all have anybody that you want to recommend to be on the show as our guest, don't forget to drop it in the comments. We could be shouting you out next.
For sure.
Right. Truly. And like he said, we love people who are doing something in the community because we started this for community to tell the stories of people. So like I've said before, kind of take back our narrative as Black people because I don't know, they be showing us one way, but look, we do other things. So we are taking back our narrative and we just want to build up the community with you all. So yes, we appreciate that. Send great people our way.
Thanks.
So, Vernon, your film is a short film right now. We were blessed with the opportunity to watch it, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I need a part 2, 3. I don't know. Give me a series. I need more. I'm hooked now. And you left me on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, so where do I watch more? So
yeah.
How did this even come about? How did we get to this point where now you got us hooked and we need more?
Well, Thank you, Amanda, for watching it, and I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. I guess first thing I got to thank everyone who helped in the process. My wife for various things just supporting me along the way. And, my team. So, my director, Ethan Avery, and my cinematographer on the film, we really put everything we had into it. The cinematographer's name is Doug Hilson. So those are super talented brothers. And, I don't know how I would have been able to try to pull this together. They definitely had heavy lifts in trying to get this thing done. But so yeah, you aren't the only person that watched that expressed that that they wanted a little bit more. And it's a funny thing. So, I remember growing up watching TV and, like you have a season finale or whatever every year. And I don't know, it could have been anything. It could have been, I don't know, Digimon or something.
Right. I love Digimon. Don't
Hey,
play.
we got no Digimon up in here.
Digimon, Digimon monsters, Digimon golden captain.
That was amazing.
Right.
What?
Yes,
Don't talk about no Digimon up in here.
yes. But yeah, it would be like, the season would end or whatever. They go on those weird breaks that always like randomly it'd be like 3 or 4 weeks off. And you'd be sitting there, I don't know what to do. Like,
Right.
I'm at school. We don't got nothing to talk about because the show ain't come out. Like,
Right.
why don't they just, send out the rest of them? Like, they over here playing. It only takes them about 30 minutes to make a show. It's
It's real bad now with Netflix.
that
now you can watch the whole season in a day.
Correct.
Yeah. But no, definitely for me being, working kind of in this space, you realize how much work, how much time and energy and effort actually goes into it. And, so much of it, like one of the hardest things is just getting, and we had a small production, but getting 20 to 30 people on the same page and on a coordinated schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult in and of itself, especially with a low budget, because you can't afford to overpay people to not do other things. Like they still got bills to pay. They got to take care of their family. So, it's only so much you may be able to provide, if anything, for a lot of small productions. So, definitely the story has more to it, and I've been working on, different avenues to continue with. But for right now, that's all we got.
Hey, and it was great. I ain't even mad at it. It was great.
Thank you.
Leave us hooked.
Thank you.
So Vernon, was this like your first film?
Of that scale, it was my first short film. So I done some skits and some smaller things, some projects in school, but nothing to this magnitude. So, definitely even more grateful that the reception has been so warm so far.
Nice.
I love that. And so
go ahead.
I know.
Sorry.
No, I'm gonna say I know we have talked a little previously about writing it. So how did this start? How did the writing process start?
Yeah, so shout out to my alma mater, Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. So it actually started, I was taking a course, a literature course focused on Eugene O'Neill's canon. And for those that don't know, Eugene O'Neill is often regarded as the greatest American playwright to ever live. But he wrote a play called The Emperor Jones back in 1920. And that was one of the many O'Neill works that we read during that course. And the Emperor Jones kind of follows a morally questionable Pullman Porter who, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but does some, like I said, morally questionable things. And, you get some ideas of expressionism. But I think, at the time, like if you read it now, you might see maybe some problematic themes as far as race goes over 100 years later. But at the time, it was one of like maybe the only examples of a black man having agency over his own life and the decisions that he made and the things that he did. And, like I said, he did do some, maybe not so great things, but like he was in control, up until the end. So, and it showed like a complexity that at the time, most black characters in film, in plays, and whatever type of narratives were one note. And this was definitely a more complex character. So that was sort of the major inspiration. I, read it, liked a lot of the Emperor Jones, but I thought there could be more, like, like living, like I said, about 100 years into the future, there are other things that can be told. So when it came time to do the final in the course, and definitely got to shout out my professor in that class, Dr. Katie Johnson, because she was definitely a huge source of just help and resources and motivation for me from the time I initially wrote it, going in her class, going beyond. But I wrote it as a final, and after she read it and after that semester ended, she came to me and she said, "Hey, I think this has a lot of potential. Would you like to do an independent study next semester? And we can have this revised a few times and then get it, performed by the end of the semester." And so we ended up doing that, had it performed on campus that next semester. And, that's kind of how the story itself was born.
That's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
That is amazing. It's great that when you go to college, you can go to learn and also experience certain things with the peers that you have. But when you have a professor that actually shows up for you and inspire you to just do anything that you dreamed of, you probably didn't even think it would even be a visual like that, but for her to even see you in that light, is amazing. And that's what's for real. Like, you go to learn and get a career, you pay all this money, but hopefully you get one thing out of it where you just like, okay, now I can take this and build a career out of it. And so now look at you. You're a writer, like you are a playwright. Like, hey guys, it's Kay, owner of Everyday People Luxury Eyewear Company. I just wanted to remind you to shop that link below at everydaypeopleworld.com to get access to all of our latest styles. We have styles for men and women, and most of our styles are UV protected because we care about style and eye protection. We're one of the first Black woman-owned eyewear companies that cares about your style and also your eye care. Make sure you click that affiliates link if you get your friends to shop with me, because I give you 10% of my proceeds. I want to give you a gift for supporting your local business owner. Again, that's everydaypeopleworld.com, and the affiliates link is below. Like, you got some film knowledge, direct these different hats just from getting inspired. A black man, right?
Yeah. No, O'Neill. He was a Caucasian man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that, because
you should yeah.
brought up racism and like making moral decisions and vibing in like the 1920s. I'm pretty sure it probably caused a lot of problems during the 1920s, because everybody wants to live this, bourgeoisie lifestyle, like have great morals, be very Christian-like or Catholic-like. So I'm sure it was very problematic, and it could definitely, with the Mayor Jones, it could resurface some more conversations about why that was happening, and also what is the juxtaposition to what's happening right now. So that's amazing.
For sure. Yeah, that's well put. I definitely would encourage anyone to take a look, because plays aren't that art form isn't as popular as it was back then. But we got to think 100 years ago they didn't have movies like they do now.
Right.
Charlie Chaplin was still, he was a big star back then, which interesting note, he has a very, I guess, problematic relationship with Eugene O'Neill.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll I'll let you guys look that up, but yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely some issue between them and their families and everything. So, but those were like the kind of films. Still a lot of silent films. Everything was still in black and white,
Mm-hmm.
and it just wasn't. You know, it was a newer medium. So plays were the dominant source of entertainment.
Mhm.
So that's what people would do. Like you go to the movies or you something new comes out on Netflix, Hulu or whatever, like you sit down, you watch that. That's date night, right?
Mhm.
Well,
Right.
back then, date night was going to the theater, hitting the town and doing that. So it was just a little different. So like a lot of people now, probably 8 out of 10 people I ask if they ever heard the name Eugene O'Neill say no.
No. Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I mean, for his time, he was like a celebrity. He was very, very famous, very, very accomplished. And his stories live on. A lot of things that he wrote are things people have heard, but they don't recognize that he wrote it or they don't know who wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
But he wrote the story, a play titled The Iceman Cometh,
I've heard of that.
Morning Becomes Electra, A Long Day's Journey into Night,
Wow.
Room for the Misbegotten. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he did a lot of stuff, but definitely would encourage anyone listening to this, if you have a chance, just check out some of the stuff because it's part of American history and part of American drama.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just as important as Shakespeare. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's so funny you say
it's
that,
definitely up
okay?
there.
Because as you were saying, like as Vernon, you were saying like titles and whatnot. I was like, I swear I've never heard of any of these, but I can name some random Edgar Allan Poe ones for no reason. Like they taught me that.
Yeah,
Literally. Literally, like who said that was the move? Like, but I guess like now,
Right. Those are the
like
only ones.
yeah,
Mhm.
do the same
Well,
thing. Like they say Nike to move. Like who made Nike to move? So
well, maybe it was a governor in Florida. This,
Right. Look.
so
Okay.
so did you always want to be a writer? Is that something that you did when you were younger, or is it something that just happened as you went throughout college?
Great question. I would say like I always created,
Mm,
whether I knew it or not. Growing up, and my brother Ethan Avery, he actually was the director on the Mayor Jones.
nice.
So, but we always made stories, created things, or we would see like Digimon, for instance, and then we would be making our own like side plots off of the main plot. We shared a bedroom most of our childhood or whatever, and so we'd be like doing all these things, and we'd be adding new characters and extra characters to stuff, and so I always was like interested in creating, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't as focused on like the the art and the craft of it. And when I was growing up, I wanted to play basketball. I was a basketball player. And, that's where the majority of my active focus went. But, eventually like in college, you realize, hey, I can still play, but, the chances of,
Yeah.
getting what I want out of sports. And I was having, injuries. Like every time I would get back from one injury, I'd start playing, be playing well, and then, another injury came up. So it was like getting exhausting. That happened a few times in a row. And so, eventually like I had to figure out I'm 20, 21. At some point I got to figure out like, what am I going to do with my life? And everyone's telling you this or that. At the time I was in engineering, and,
Amazing.
I was doing fine in it, but I wasn't really passionate like I was with basketball. And when I started like writing and creating stories, that's the first time I felt something similar to the passion and the joy that I felt from basketball. And so, being in my early 20s, decided to start pursuing that route, and here we are a decade or so later, and more people are seeing some of the stories that I've had inside of me to share.
I love that. That is beautiful because, like I said, it's like taking our stories and our narratives back, and like also telling it from our
Mhm.
perspective because obviously sometimes walking around in the world, no matter what color you are, you almost feel like it's your own type of world because you have your own story, you have your own history, like your own whatever has happened to your people and whatnot. And we kind of
Right,
carry that, like, no matter what we say, I think we kind of
right,
carry that in our just genes and in our blood. We know. And so
yeah,
with that, it's telling our story, but then also looking at all the things that come with telling our story. Like, I know there was one part in your short film, The Mayor Jones. His mom said something like, "If you want to fix it, you have to become it." And I was like, "Ooh, that is so deep." Because really, you do, like, to fix some of the problems or the things that we see, you have to become it. But also, I think if you don't fully become it, even being able to tell the story like you are by like putting it out there, writing it, and putting it on
hmm
film for us to see, that's a way of fixing it and transforming things. And so I was like, "Oh, this is just it's beautiful."
thank you. Yeah, I just building off of your comment, Amanda, and shout out to Alicia Lee who played the mom, and Christopher Hartway Jr. who played the Mayor Jones. They did a phenomenal job, as did all
Yeah.
of our talent on and off. But like talking more about sharing the stories and how like we have these stories inside of us, and the story of the Mayor Jones is such a relatable one for
Mm-hmm.
all you know people,
Yeah.
all Americans, but it's specifically for Black Americans. We deal with the issues a lot, and the major kind of thematic thread throughout the Mayor Jones is prison and how it affects our communities, and
Mm-hmm.
the prison industrial complex, and what's going on with all of these things, and being overcharged or being falsely accused
Mm-hmm.
and sentenced and things like that. And so for me, like, it was very important to tell this story because so at the same time I was in the O'Neill class in college earlier that semester, I had found out that my sister had been sentenced to 6 years in prison,
Wow.
Wow.
and she served every second of it.
Wow.
Wow.
And at the time she went in, she has two beautiful little girls. They a handful, but they're beautiful. But I think they were like 5 and 6 or somewhere around there at the time. Like they were very, very young. By the time my sister got out of prison, she had been absent more of their life than she had been there.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
those are the things that, when there's a prison sentence or you see someone's mugshot on Busted or one of those websites, or you see a news article that says, hey, these three people were arrested in connection to this or in connection to that. Those are nameless
Right.
faces unless you know them.
Yeah.
Right.
And for so many African Americans, especially, we know them. Like they're part of our family. They're some of
Mm-hmm.
our best friends, and we have to serve that sentence with them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even though it's a lot different being on the inside, but we also have to carry that pain and that burden as we go forward. And for me, it was just important to tell that story. So when I was looking to write an original play for that final, that was like the first thing I thought of. Like, how do I add what's going on, not just in this nation, but specifically in my own life, in my family that
Mm-hmm.
we're dealing with? How do I share this to a larger audience? And so that's really like probably the biggest inspiration behind the Mary Jones.
That's incredible. I mean, obviously not what happened to your sister, and that's terrible to hear. And like
Mm.
really putting it in that perspective too, of she was out of their life more years than she was in it. That's huge because yeah, I think that's a part that we don't
Yeah.
always think about with people because they do. We don't know what they're leaving behind
Hmm.
when they're put behind those bars, and so yeah.
Right.
But it's incredible that you were able to transform something like that into a story to really bring it to the forefront to have these conversations where we're like, whoa, yeah, and what is the problem? Like how do we stop this? We hear about the school to prison
Hmm.
pipeline all the time, and we hear about people reoffending and the recidivism rate, but that's great. We
Yeah.
hear all the numbers and the things that you're telling us, but what are we doing to stop it? How are you stopping it? What are we doing about it?
I mean, the first thing always, like in any, think about like your own issues in your life, whether it's with relationships, whether it's with employment, whatever it is. The first thing you have to do is actually address the problem.
Right. Yep.
And you want to raise that word. If you don't say nothing, you're not getting a raise. Like at some
Right.
point, you got to figure out, how do I have this conversation with my boss or HR, whoever I need
Mm-hmm.
to talk to get the ball rolling so we can have this conversation.
Right.
But it just goes to show us. I think there are a lot of people that are willing to have the conversation, but there are still people that don't. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, there are some governors in places where the sun shines off the Gulf of Mexico that don't want to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
they've decided that it's not important to have that conversation. But it is, like anything that's going on. I know for me, like with my wife or my family, my siblings, whoever, my friends, right? I don't always realize that I did something wrong or I made a mistake, right? I'll go through life, and if no one ever tells me that I offended them or hurt them or I did something that brought them pain, I won't know. There are some things and there are some things that you don't notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in order to actually become a better person, you need you need people to be able to tell you where your blind spots
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just doesn't make sense not to be able to talk about that. It's very important that we can have those conversations, and it doesn't have to be a screaming match, but
Right.
hey, this is why this thing offends people who think like
Yeah.
this. Just talk about it. And I know for me, it helps me, whether it's whatever in my personal life or even when I've had conversations about race with people who think differently than me, when we're actually able to just sit down and talk and not
Exactly.
bring extra agendas, but just have an open dialogue, you know. And I've learned things about race from people who thought differently than me, people who are different races than me, just by sitting down and talking to them and hearing where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely important just to have that conversation.
Yeah. I'm so glad that so life changing and made your own story about it from a story that was already very influential and problematic but relatable. Can you talk
Hmm.
more about what you said earlier? How your family, when people get sentenced and criminalized for things that they did, and how their family have to serve that sentence with them. Can you talk about a little bit about how your family had to be there for us, or like what experience did you guys have while she was in prison?
Yeah, for sure. And here's
Hi,
Bumsy making
Bumsy.
an appearance here. Say
Hey.
hi.
My jingle jingle.
Oh.
She was running around. Now she's laying down somewhere. Finally making my
Exactly.
noise. I'm like, girl, you be laying down. What are you doing?
Right,
It's
right,
so
right.
cute.
No, that is, yeah, it's his house, and
Right.
You just paying the bills.
I'm just here to pay the bills and,
Exactly.
and make sure the food come on time.
Exactly.
Make
That's how I
make
feel.
sure his bathroom is
Yes.
clean. Yeah.
You run me in my house.
Right. um No, so I guess to go to your question, yeah, I mean, like what we had to do as a family is just we had to decide, okay, what what now, right? At the time, parents, my brother, and I, we were all devastated, but there were two lives in the balance
Yeah.
that could not take care of themselves because of different, I guess, dynamics. The best thing we decided was to keep them with the four of
That's
us.
amazing.
To make sure that they had an opportunity to, number one, be safe, and number two, hopefully succeed in life. And it's an ongoing journey. As kids are growing, you just try to teach them, and you try to, show them from experience that, hey, I tried the same thing you doing and it didn't work out good. Or, hey, I've learned this along the way. Or maybe I don't have all the answers, but these are things that other people have told me, and this might be beneficial for you. And of course, as you're growing up as a child, as a adolescent, and into young adulthood, you pick and choose what lessons you adhere to and don't. But that was something we had to do. And with my nieces, they had a lot of turmoil through their life up to that point, and then obviously with parents in prison or living with grandparents, or your uncle is taking you to school every day and feeding you and taking you for months at a time to care for you, right? It's unstable because you have all of these changes. So we just tried the best we could to be as stable as possible in an unstable situation. And, it was not always easy, but looking back, I wouldn't change it. I think we tried to do the best we could just to put them first and try to make sure that they had the things that they needed. But it definitely was hard. One thing I can say we tried to do for sure to make sure that that connection with my sister and my niece's mother still existed was we tried to go on visits regularly.
That's
So
amazing.
about as often, yeah,
That's amazing.
about as often as we were able to. Some places she was at, because she got moved once and then got moved back to the original place later. But some places she was at, it's like twice a month. Some places she was at, it might have been different or different times. Call for different circumstances. But we tried to make sure that we were doing visits, that we were on the phone, making sure that she could talk to them, and we could talk to them too. We could talk to her too, because that was important for us as well. And then, not even to mention how much of a cash grab prison is, but you got to pay for, for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't gone through that with one or multiple people, you got to pay for everything. And so every time you call it, like you get the call, this is a GTL call, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And this inmate does not have funds on their account. Do you accept the charges to be able to have this phone call or whatever? And then you got to put your card information in just to talk to them. And then, they don't really give them anything. So you got to buy them clothes and food and different things from the outside. So it's a financial strain as
That's
well.
like dude.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot for sure. But those are the things that we tried to do. I'm sorry, it's a long answer.
No,
those are the things we tried to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. To put yourself on the line like that, you and your family. That's amazing to just keep the connection to your nieces, because we know how many kids fall to the social service system because their parents go to prison. So that's amazing that y'all put your lives on the line just to make sure they were safe and connected.
Hey guys, I'm Kay.
I'm Amanda.
And we're your hosts of We Got Ish to Say,
an Everyday Vibe podcast.
We just wanted to drop in and say thank you so much for tuning into the show, and we wanted to invite you to our free community.
Hey, an everyday vibe, because y'all know we a vibe.
Period, Amanda. In this community, you have access to other viewers and you get to connect with them. And you also get a free newsletter that gives you updates and shares our affiliate links.
Fire! And on top of that, we've created another level of the community. We realized that when we created this and started things, we wanted to build a community. We wanted to have conversation full of value, tips, tricks, and just help each other out.
Tell
We're
them, Amanda.
stronger together. So, in the subscription community, you get all of what Kay just mentioned. On top of that, you get behind the scenes. Obviously, there's things that are cut out of these interviews. They are way too long. You get us being us in our everyday life. And remember, we're brand owners, so there's photo shoots. You get behind the scenes of photo shoots that we do for our brands and really see what's coming up next.
Damn!
Outside of that, there's also live Q&A sessions with our guests after interviews where you get to ask any other questions that you personally have to go deeper, right? We're trying to grow. We're trying to get out here and be stronger together. So you get to ask them and connect with them so that way you have more resources and you get access to our exclusive offers, secrets that maybe other people don't know, but we're going to drop them for y'all, and so much more.
So much more. Don't miss out to be a part of the paid community because Amanda just listed a ton of stuff. So make sure you guys tap that link below to join our community.
Love you. See you on the other side.
Yeah. And of course, that's a whole nother issue because they'll pay someone else to take care, the kids in your family, but they won't pay you to do it. So it's
they will not unless they get put into the foster care system, and then you just so happen get them. But like that's a whole situation. Mm-hmm. Very unfortunate.
I feel like that's double the trauma on somebody as a child. That is double the trauma. Yeah. These systems are not, and I mean, that's the thing too. Like I got a whole degree like in sociology, right? And of course with that they try to push you into social work, and that was my biggest thing. I was like, I don't feel like I can do social work because no matter how much I want to help somebody, my hands are so tied and bound by the constructs of what y'all got going on. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to actually serve or help anyone. Like, how many kids have y'all let die in the system when you knew that there was a problem, but you did nothing or couldn't do anything based on rules and regulations? That's insane to me. This is just trauma. You are traumatizing the world and then putting people out here and wondering why things go wrong. Like, what? Yeah. You set us up.
It's a whole setup.
Yeah.
How is your sister? Is she out of prison now?
Yeah. She's out. So she went in and she got sentenced in February of 2015, and up until that point, the time that she was, going through trial and stuff, counts a certain amount.
Was that before?
I think she got out.
So, because I know, like, it could be a whole year before you actually get sentenced. So, was she in
it was several months. It was that process took several months. So, I think she initially had gotten arrested in July, I want to say. It was either July or August of the prior year, 2014. And then her sentence came down in February of 2015. So it was several months, during that process. And she got out in either June or July of 2020. And that was a whole nother thing too, because that was, the COVID shutdowns were happening. Yeah. That same summer was a lot of the, what I like to call the, racial awakening that appeared to be happening off of absurd tragedies. But it was a lot going on that summer. So she was actually released right into that.
Wow.
That's crazy. Thank God for her release, but that is crazy. It's like getting released into a powder keg. Like, what?
Whole different world.
It was definitely crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was wild. But no, she's home and she's been, increasingly doing better. It's a process though. I mean, it takes time to try to reintegrate, into society, especially, 6 years. Yes. So, I mean, it's taken her some time, but she's started businesses. She's,
That's amazing.
taking care of her girls. You know, she's hitting all the checkpoints, and she's trying. The number one thing is she's trying the best she can. So,
and she got a
you
great
know, we're
support
here
system.
supporting her
So
through that.
it seems like,
Exactly.
Yeah, we try.
You know,
we try.
It's one thing when I kind of want to go back to what you said about when people go to prison and they're Black and they get blasted online, and then all these people get to say things about them. That's like, you serve a lot of different prisons. Like, now you gotta be scrutinized by people you don't even know, and then maybe you have kids and they're gonna have their own ideas about it. Then your family gonna have their own ideas about it. Then you got to deal with the system. They got, and then you got to deal with your own prison inside yourself. So the last thing you is like, of course, when she gets out, while she's out and trying to figure out her life, is to, I guess, like, reprison her. And, this box of like, you did this, so now you're this for the rest of your life because these are the choices that you made, instead of, giving grace and saying, okay, you served your time. You was away from your children, you did what you did, and now you got to be a productive citizen. So that's amazing that she's able to do these things, because seems like she got a really great family to support her and to have her back.
Yeah, and a few of her friends were there during that process. That's too, amazing. Just checking in on her and trying to help.
Yeah.
But as much as the circumstances that we were dealt, with my sister, and thankfully there was some support system, but it just makes you think, like, how many people don't have that are going through that, right? And what we could sit here and argue and debate whether someone broke the law or didn't, whether they should get this amount of time or that amount of time, right? Like, I have my own thoughts about my sister's situation and things that I'm not sure were done properly, or things that may or may not have been on the up and up. But, it's like so many situations where you have like petty, like, drug charges, or non-violent offenses, stealing, things like that. Even some things like maybe like a robbery or whatever, but everyone comes out okay, or comes out physically unharmed.
Right.
You think about it, and it's like, how do we determine how much time someone's supposed to get for something like that, right? And a lot of times it seems excessive, especially when they sentence minorities, like the same exact, charges that are being brought against other people that are getting community service, or everything's getting dropped, right? And it's one of those things. It's, you're talking about, there are two things that we can't get back in life. You can't. If someone dies, you cannot bring them back to life.
Right.
And the other thing you can never get back is time.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like, once that time is gone, it's spent, and you can never go back and choose what you did with that time. Like, it's gone. And so, is it necessary to have prison the way that we have it right now? And I don't think it is. I think there are better ways to do it. And I'm not someone that says abolish all prisons. There are some people I know personally that need to be in prison, like that are not, that, like, the community is not safe if they're out and about, right? And it's not to say like that there's not a place for it, but we are so just far and away, like our incarceration rates and numbers are so far lapping the rest of the world. Like, it, these other places, everyone has their issues, and but they're making it through without putting every 1 out of every 10 people in prison and 1 out of every 3 Black men, or whatever it is. They're able to survive and function and have good things and be safe without doing all of that, or at least as safe as us, if not safer. So there's no statistical reason to have as many people behind bars as we do.
Absolutely.
I definitely agree with that. And I think about it too, you were talking about like the lower level crimes per se, and like the charges that people get for them. And I just look at that too, because unfortunately there's situations where it's like you just never know, right? Like wrong place, wrong time, and the way the cops just seem to hate black people nowadays, like you just walking in there could be a problem at
Nowadays.
this point. So like, I mean, I know, but I
For
just think there's been like a
400 or 500 years.
yeah, like it's being shown more now. I mean, like it's always been a thing, but between the level of cameras and the level of like accountability
Yeah.
that we are now forcing people to try to take for things, I think there's just a bigger, like, you see it's just in your face all the time. And as one, that's already heavy on a black person's mental, but
Yeah.
then like it's also, you're still trying to show up and live in this world and do right. But back to charges and whatnot, it's a matter of you never know how like your life could be turned upside down in the blink of an eye, right? Like here today, gone tomorrow. But also it's like the company you keep. Imagine like getting charges that are out of this world just because you were with the wrong crowd for the wrong night. That's insane to me. But sometimes that's just what happens. Like it's wrong place, wrong time, or like you don't even realize that your friends are into some crazy things, but now you done got caught up and now you're all caught up. Like how, that's just that's insane to me. And knowing that we can look back at people's records and talk to the world and be like, who are they? Are they outstanding citizens? Have they ever been in trouble with the law? And the answer is no. But then yet you're still charging them as if that was first degree murder. That's insane to me. And that's really what we do. Like I don't know why, but that's what happens in America.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, girl.
Yes, you do.
Girl, you know why now. Come on. You know why.
Exactly why.
Yeah.
Is the hate that real?
I mean,
Like,
It's real because you could, you could be a white person and I don't know, steal out of Walmart and get probation or get customer community service or something, and then you could be a black person and steal out of Walmart and get, that's like your first offense. Or maybe you've been like, you both are thieves and been stealing, but this white person can go to the court every single time and get community service. The black person, they'd have been there the same amount of times, and then this is your last strike. Now you finna get locked up for 10, 20 years because you was stealing, regardless of the circumstances, whether you poor, you got it or whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's just so unfortunate how you got this person that's sitting on this stand that can decide your fate, and you might be morally a better person than them. You probably are a great person. Have a great family, have a great education, and like you said, be in a situation in the wrong place at the wrong time. But not just that, but get the wrong person to lock you up. Get the wrong person that takes you to the court. Get the wrong person that's your judge. Get the wrong lawyer. Get all these wrong things just because you're black, just because you are a person of minority. It is so unfortunate that we all know the prison system, the police were set up for black people. This is what was created to say, oh, we're gonna get rid of slavery. Oh,
slave
we're gonna put something in place so we can continue to imprison people and use them for their labor. It's just very unfortunate that those numbers correlate to dollar signs, and it's not for us, it's for them. And I did want to ask you, Vernon, about what like actual characteristics, I guess, of her sentence or what she was going through did you tie into the Mayor Jones to really like shed light on what happened to her?
So it's a short film. It's about 38 minutes right now, so it's only so much. Full transparency, I completed a residency at the Eugene O'Neill Foundation in Danville, California, last October, which that's a suburb up in the Bay Area. Okay. But like a lot of the things that I did there, my main focus was to expand the story into like a longer work. And so I'd like definitely go over it a little more. I would say in the film that we have right now, it was more so kind of like the emotional piece of what a family is going through, or what your friends are going through when you do have that sudden loss that you aren't planning for, you aren't expecting.
Right.
And of course, well, some people do lose their lives behind
Yeah.
bars, which is a whole nother issue. But
Mm-hmm.
eventually, like, your loved one is going to be released, but that time that they aren't, you've lost that person at least as you can have them right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Yeah, you can go do a visit, you can get on the phone, you can send a letter, whatever, but it's such a limited access to that person. And so just kind of like, I think there's a scene. I think maybe the scene that Amanda was referencing earlier with Alicia and Christopher, where they are just talking about that initial emotion when they find out what the sentence is,
Mm-hmm.
and how, like, it's just, it doesn't feel real to them at the, like, it's you have to just try to sort all those things out in your mind while you still have your day-to-day responsibilities to take care of. So it's a lot when you go through that process. Unfortunately, a lot of us have to deal with that. And like you were saying, Kay, you got definitely a disparity in the sentencing rates. And I know I'm not one to say that other races outside of black people don't have issues with the police too, or with the justice system, which
Right.
I got police officers in my family. I got,
Yeah, me too.
all type of stuff, right? And it's like, it's just weird. It's weird. Like, the whole thing is almost seems like a way to keep us fighting
Oh
each
yeah.
other. But
Mm-hmm.
I know there are, certain communities that might be majority white, and, like, when they don't have other people to, put behind bars, you look at those communities that, especially, any community where there's a lot of drugs, or
Yeah.
there's
Mm-hmm.
crime, and it's not, not no black people there. Guess who they locking up?
Yes.
And they don't like the police neither,
Yeah.
Right.
because they getting kicked in the ass every time they go
Yes.
outside. So I think it's like the issue affects everyone. It's definitely more of an issue with minorities, and with black people. We deal with it at a much higher rate. But again, like, everyone don't need to be locked up. Like,
Agreed.
you got a kid that you tell them not to touch the stove when it's on, and they touch the stove, burn their hand, and then you lock them in their room for 2 weeks.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's other ways to deal with that, right? Like, it's just that's kind of my thoughts on it. And I got a million things I could say, but
No,
No,
we,
thank
we
you for
feel you. Trust me. We feel you. Our,
yeah.
our, our brain be
Me
running too. We
too.
know. I was going to say too, because Kay, you had mentioned
yeah.
like probation. And that's crazy because I'm going to be real. I think I was like so like naive and like dumb to like the system for a minute, and just even probation, right? I
hmm
watched like the whole little Meek Mill documentary. I was like, probation is a whole setup. This
hmm
is a setup. You just want me in jail.
It
Just
could
put me in
be.
jail
Yes.
then.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
It's really, it
hmm
really sometimes can feel very damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Did your sister see the film?
Yes,
What did she think
yes.
about it?
She enjoyed it. She enjoyed it. I think she was just proud. Like I said, my brother directed it, and I think it was just being happy to see her brothers come together and do something. And it probably meant more that we were working on it together as well. But that was the main takeaway I got from her response after watching it. She was just really happy that we did something, and she had enjoyed it. But she didn't go into too many details about it. But she talked about the things that she liked. So I was glad that she was able to see it, and you know just kind of experience. She was another person that wanted more
Yeah. I'm telling you. I'm waiting. I was like, are you writing? Are you still writing? Are you
Literally.
what else are we getting into now?
Right. Yeah, we had our premiere in November. We rented out independent theater, down in the Clifton area of Cincinnati, and
Dope.
it was good. It was probably around 90 people
Nice.
that showed up, but we had a little Q&A afterwards, and yeah, a lot of people want more. So
Look, we
hopefully
all
one of these
ready.
days,
It's gonna
We
happen.
ready.
You know.
yeah, yeah,
Your
we'll
actors
see.
and
I'm still working on it.
your
Mhm.
actors and actresses, have they been doing this for a long time as well? Are they in the industry like full time, or were they ones that were kind of near and dear to your heart and you pulled them?
So some of them I knew going into it, but most of the cast were people that I met for the first time during this process.
Amazing.
So yeah, we everyone's a professional act, but some people have been doing it longer than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have other jobs, and I know a few of them are full time.
Okay.
But it just like anything else, it's a grind, and
Yeah.
again, like I can't express how much gratitude I have for everyone that poured their talent and their effort into making this happen, because it wasn't always easy. We had some long days, and people had to adjust their schedule sometimes to try to make it work. So it took a lot of work, but I'm happy with what we came up with what we had going into it, which
Mm-hmm.
wasn't much. It was pretty much the money I had in my pocket, which again wasn't much. So being able to kind of pull that together, and for everyone who took a chance, like this is a chance you take, and
Yeah.
especially I hadn't done anything at this magnitude prior. So as an actor, you see something, you got to pick which projects you're going to attach yourself to,
Right.
Yeah.
and you have to trust that the production team is going to put you in the best light that they possibly can.
Exactly.
Because these are things that can help them if it's something that they can use for their next project, or if they are trying to audition for their a show
Yeah.
or whatever, right? Like they need to be
Yeah.
able to send things in, and so everyone that worked on it enjoyed it, and I think that in conversations that I've had, they're happy that they signed on to work with us.
That's great.
Yeah. It was amazing. There was a vision there, and I believe you all executed it amazingly. Like it was incredible. So
Thank you.
I'm excited for whatever else
Thank
comes
you.
next, because yep, that was fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Thank you.
for
You.
our writers and filmmakers, can you kind of just really briefly go through the steps that you had to take to start first write it, direct it, get it on, do all those things to make it the finished product, just for any inspiring filmmakers or current writers and filmmakers that are looking to do their first project or get inspired to create their next project?
So the first thing is always do it. I mean,
Correct.
like literally, for me, like I should have done this 4 years ago.
Okay.
But there was always something. There was always a reason why I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the money. I don't have the resources. I don't have the equipment. I don't have the people that I know and trust to be able to do it with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that it was a few years, and like this story was just sitting, collecting dust, and it just so happened when the initial shutdown happened, and sitting around with some friends, and having more time on your hand, not being able to go to work because you can't or whatever, not being able to do this or that. a decision was made. Let's do something, and let's not just do a 5-minute skit. Let's actually make something happen. And that's kind of where it started. And when we decided, we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the people, we definitely didn't have the money. But, each step of the way is okay, we have to figure out how are we going to get this next part done.
Yeah.
And you just, you figure it out however you got to do it. But I would say, do it, especially for any young people that are trying to tap more into their creative side. You could always start small. You can always make a 1, 3, 5-minute skit with your friends. You can record a lot of stuff on your phones now if you don't have the equipment to do so. And just start there. Like I said, I've been writing for almost 15 years
Wow.
now. So it wasn't, it just different things. And when I started writing, it was all garbage. But I didn't know that at the time, and you just get better. Like the more you do stuff, you get better at it.
Exactly.
And so just start doing it. Get with the group. If you don't have a lot of friends that do stuff, you can go on Facebook, you can go on LinkedIn, find some people in your area. You might even be able to work with some people virtually, but just find like a little community where people are actually doing things. And the more people that you're around that are doing the things that you want to do, the quicker that you'll end up doing it for yourself. So, there's no exact perfect way to do it, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. We could do a whole podcast on actually trying to do the film and all of the stuff that came up, which like the fact that we even got it done. Like the odds of looking back and how many times like it almost didn't happen for one reason or another. Like it's no way that this project should have survived. The only thing was like we were stubborn enough to just keep to be like we're just going to do
and that's
it.
what you have
we're just
to
going
do.
to keep going.
Be stubborn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get it done.
Yeah. So I mean that's what I would say. If you want to become a better writer, you have to write, and you have to learn how to take criticism. When I first started writing, like my, like early on, like within probably my first year, maybe even, year and a half, 2 years or something, like it stung a lot more when someone would say anything about what I wrote. Right? Like they could literally just be like, hey, I like this character more than the protagonist. I'm like, well, why don't you like the protagonist? Like it. But everything hurt more when you're fresh because you're in such a vulnerable spot.
Yeah.
If anyone sees something I do now and they tell me it's the worst thing that they've ever seen or ever read, and I should quit right now and just go deliver Amazon packages for the rest of my life, I don't care. I like if they say that to me now, I'll be like, okay, so can you like tell me specifically what the issues were so I can try to, figure out where that's the next thing. That's the only thing I'm gonna ask them. I want to know specifically like what were the issues you had with it. Not to say you're wrong, just to say, okay, this is something that this person clearly didn't like. Let me see how many people really have an issue with this. And if it seems like that's something everyone is bringing up, it's probably me tripping. If there are some people bringing it up, maybe I'm tripping, maybe I'm not. If this is the only person that's saying something and the other 100 people didn't say anything about it, then I just don't need them in my life. But, like that's how I look at it now. So for anything that you're trying to create, you definitely have to learn how to take the criticism because that's how you get better.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you whoever your favorite, writers, directors, they have people that tell them that something that they wrote is not hitting the mark.
Mm-hmm.
They have people tell them that all the time. And they've been doing it for decades.
Right.
And that's how they get better. Like I don't know how many rewrites, like whatever the last film you just watched at the movies that you actually enjoyed, I guarantee you they had to go back over it multiple times to try to make sure that they got it right. So it's a process, and you can't do it alone. It takes a team to try to make sure that, again, blind spots that you're able to see. They're able to see what you can't. And so that's probably like my best advice. Just do it, and then learn how to take criticism, and have a strong team with you that's willing to tell you the truth.
Yes, I love that. Say, drop some points on these people so they can take bullet point notes.
Yes,
I love it.
Yeah,
Calling all my warriors. So many of us have a story to tell. We have a time of triumph or a situation that seemed impossible to come back from, yet here you are. You're a champion, and I commend you on that. I had that moment too when I was 21, and it took years, but I'm finally standing here as a warrior that broke down those walls and busted up the lens of things that no longer serve me. Our stories may not be the same, but our victory is. Click the link in my bio and get a copy of my ebook, 10 Steps to Move Powerfully Through Mourning, and join the growing community of warriors. See you on the other side.
I am here to help.
Again, we truly, truly appreciate your time, this incredible story that you wrote, and how you've turned things in your life into a story for all of us that we can all relate to and that we can all learn from and have conversations that we sometimes don't have but really need to have amongst one another and other people. And so opening the door for that, we truly are grateful for you and your time and work. And tell these people where they can find you if they want to tap in, if they want to ask you any more questions. Where can they find you at?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest place is probably on social. So, my IG, I probably check most frequently, but that's Easy89. It's VEEZY89. And then also on Facebook, Vernon E Williams. So anyone feel free, if they want to get connected, you can reach out to me on there. And, like I said, I'm here to help. If someone has questions and I have answers, I will share them. If I don't have answers, I will let you know that and try to see if someone I know does. But that's pretty much where I'm at with it. So especially for people like in Ohio area or close to Ohio, if you want to get connected, and we might be able to find a way to work together on something. But
nice.
Those are best ways to find
What's
me.
new? Anything new happening?
So, like I said, I had the fellowship where I was working on continuing the Mayor Jones, and I'm in the revision process trying to go back over it and tighten it up and make sure that the story is right and that it does the film that we did justice, because I don't want to put the effort we put into that and then I skip steps as I try to go forward. So, I'm trying to make sure that I do what I can to make that the best it can possibly be. And hopefully, I'll be able to start sharing that this summer, and it'll be in play format. It'll be a full-length play. But my goal is to finish working on that and, get that into production by summer if possible. It's getting close. It's a few months away, but we'll see.
You got it.
And thank you.
That's amazing.
And other than that, my brother's in the process of kind of trying to figure some things out with the big thing he's working on. So I'm just trying to make sure that I can help him in whatever ways that he may need it. But that's though it's a few things going on in the next few months. So we're gonna do the best we can with it.
We're gonna be watching. I'm excited.
Exactly. And congratulations on all of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
my
you
first
so much,
friend
Amanda.
that's a writer, a director, a filmmaker. I'm excited for you. Oh, man.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
No, definitely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the platform, and feel free to reach out anytime. We can chat. If I'm in the area,
Come
I'll
through.
reach out,
Yeah.
let you
Hey,
know.
hit us
Might
up. Let
might
us
be able to
know.
grab
Let us
something to eat. So
know.
yeah,
Maybe
for
we can do a
sure,
little
for
Yes.
short
sure.
film
Thank
together.
you.
Man, you wanna be an actress?
Maybe, maybe,
Right.
maybe. I wouldn't be opposed.
Yeah.
Hey, I do camera work. I'm a photographer, so I'm behind the camera automatically. Can't
Okay,
be an actress.
Look, I
okay.
did one
We can
skit
figure
in
something
college.
out.
One skit for a friend that was a
That
she's a photographer, and one of her assignments was to do a
Mhm.
skit. And man, I was like,
look.
okay, I gotta help her. Shoot,
Yeah,
I don't know
you,
how it
you
turned
probably
out.
you probably killed it.
Hey,
You probably turned up on
listen,
there.
the story was we were all in college, and
Mm.
somebody couldn't get back in school because they didn't have enough money to get
Mm.
enrolled. Stole money from
Oh
somewhere.
Lord.
And we had a whole little deal going on, It was so funny, and it was like a little
The-
quick little 5-minute little film, but it was
are, are you
hilarious.
sure it wasn't a documentary?
Yeah,
Right.
it wasn't a lot of
You
talking. It was like we
feel-
came up with the plan at the table. We was like, all right, so this is what we're
Mhm.
gonna do. And then after that,
Nah, that sounds dope.
you saw the duffel bag going from one place to, hey, I'm on camera.
Yeah, I got
Goodness.
I got some epic fails, and I'm sure yours was probably a lot better than some of the things I worked on.
Thank you so much for being here with us. We really
No,
appreciate it. I hope to bring you back.
thank,
Honestly, I would love to
yeah.
revisit the conversation of talking about women
Mhm.
incarcerated. It would be really nice and dope to have your sister on. That's if she's open and willing to talk about her story.
I'll, I'll talk to her, and definitely when it drops, we can, I can share it with her.
Yes,
But yeah, no, I mean, she has an incredible story that I hope one day she's able to come to a space where she can share all of the things that she went through. Because it can help a lot of people
yes,
who are going through that,
yes,
either behind bars or looking into the bars, where they have someone there.
yes,
So yeah, I think it'd be very, very powerful if she's able to share.
yes. I
Yeah. And
agree.
this is the last thing I'm going to say, and we're going to let you go for real. But I was going to say, too, when we were talking about
Okay.
your sister earlier, I was literally like,
Hmm.
I just feel like there's a book there. There's a book that's so powerful. And
Yeah,
because you're already a writer,
Hmm.
either you could help her write or write it for her, whatever. But I was like, I just feel like you guys
Yeah.
have such a testimony in your family that, yeah, it's such a story that's incredible.
Hmm.
And I do hope that you just continue to find ways to share it and, yeah, empower other people because it's truly
Yeah.
incredible.
it is.
Even your support
Yeah.
system. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe the
Thank you.
Mayor Jones will
Thank
turn
you
into a
so
book. Who
much.
knows?
Right.
It,
But on that
maybe.
note, we're going to drop Vernon's
Maybe.
handles in the bottom box so that way you can grab them if you didn't grab them when he repeated them, but they will be down below. So make sure that you tap in with him. If you ever want to find me or Kay, y'all know you can find me at, I got a bunch of Instagram. So smile underscore the number 4 underscore Manda. Or if you're looking for the brand, it's love.vibes. You can find Kay at,
Yes, you can find me at my personal page. I am Sade Brand. You can find the brand at everydaypeopleworld.com or everydaypeopleworld on all the platforms.
and of course, you can find the two of us doing something ridiculous. Kay's making people dance and we sing, and I don't know. You can always
Manage it,
find us
love it.
at we got Ish to Say Pod on Instagram, TikTok, most of the socials. If you're on Twitter though, it is at We Got Ish to Say Pod 2, the number 2, not TO. And that's all we got for y'all today. But that was powerful. And again, Vernon, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again for having me, and we'll keep in touch. So
Yes, we will.
Absolutely.
for sure, I'll definitely let you know if I have other things to share.
Thank you.
For sure. Please do. Until next time,
All
y'all.
right. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.